And I believe this is working, but honestly, I never. Okay. So we'll just pray that this is all working. And like I said earlier, for everybody just came to the call, here at Connect Ottawa, which we're hosting this webinar today, we are about learning and sharing business tips. So one of the things we've started to do is go on LinkedIn Live, and actually we're streaming on YouTube as well, and I believe Facebook. So we are getting around. So anybody that's tuning in from any of these avenues, we welcome you to hop onto our Zoom call and participate with us. And today we're looking forward to hearing from Camille Miller. However, before we get started, we are going to do a few introductions and share a little bit of information about everybody. So this event, as I mentioned, is brought to you by Connect Ottawa Business Community, and we'd love to have you join us. It is a place to meet like-minded networkers, start building relationships, learn, share, communicate by sharing your blogs and posts, engaging in conversations, and practice your business skills. And also on Thursdays, we have a VIP group that meets 12 to 1. So we welcome you to join us there as well for a little bit more deeper conversations. And as we get started today, we're going to go, and Bertie's going to do some housekeeping tips with us. And we're going to thank Stefan for taking care of our video recordings and our technology. And then we're going to go around and give everybody the opportunity to introduce yourself. And then we get started with the presentation. And don't forget, this is still some networking and meeting people here. So copy and paste your LinkedIn profiles or a little blurb about yourself and put them in the chat. And I encourage everybody always to reach out to one person at least on the call. I mean, you can reach out to everybody, but sometimes we get too busy. So sometimes just biting off little pieces, reach out to one person, connect and say hi is a great way just to get started in this wonderful world of networking. So Barney, would you like to share some housekeeping tips for us?
Oh, Margaret Ann, absolutely. Hello, folks. Welcome to Tuesday. And so, first things first, the chat bottom center of your tile or your display on Zoom, click on it. And that's where you fire some information in. I've just posted some information. It's about, contact information about myself, and you should have your LinkedIn profile. If it's HTTPS in there, it's easier for someone to click and go. Your calendar booking piece is in there. Plus, you'll see some upcoming events. If you're not part of Connect Ottawa and you're a guest today, just welcome to join. There's the connection for that. It's super simple. We have a core VIP session coming up, and next Tuesday we have making sense of insurance for business owners. It's a conversation. So this is a good way to share that information rapidly and quickly, so you can start establishing your rapport with the folks around you. And on the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see the view button. If you click that, if you either go speaker or gallery, you should be in gallery mode. Exit full screen if you need access to the desktop of your screen. Okay, and that way you can be dynamic and running and staying in tune. And bottom right, you'll see a reactions button. And just if you like a point or you want to get someone's attention, raise your hand. Whatever gestures they have for you in there should all be good gestures. And so also, if you happen to have the screaming dogs and barking kids in the background, please go to the mute mode. That way we don't have the cute moments rolling through. And because we're going live and we don't want to broadcast our kids and our puppies and other. And if you have a parrot, even better, because we know parrots are ever so quiet. Not. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Bernie. So what we do is, mentioned before, we're going to go around and very quickly, you'll have about, 30, 45 seconds to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do. And actually, you know what? Say where you're from today, because I see that we're from all around. And I love these calls because we have the opportunity to connect globally. So on that note, who will we start? And let's start with you today. Oh, you're on mute.
Right. Sorry. So, hello, everybody. Nice to see so many faces. Always good to get to know a lot of people. I'm sitting here in very sunny Edinburgh. No, it's not sunny, but it is in Edinburgh. And I'm a management consultancy, representing the management, teaching the management team leadership skills, and helping them to understand the integral parts of their business and get them to grow or achieve their exit mission. The other thing I do is I'm a non-executive director as well, sitting on boards, helping and advising in that context, and basically also an entrepreneur. So if you want to flip something, flip it with me first.
I love it. Thanks a lot, Anna. How about Bobby?
Hi, everyone. Bobby at bobbythecoffeeguy.ca. So I have my own brand of coffee, as well as I sell even charbutts or Starbucks. Don't want to say it. But I sell coffee in various retail outlets, as well as online and even Amazon. So we're having some fun. We're getting more people part of our Bobby the Coffee Guy family. So please join. Test us out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Bobby. Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela, and I'm in very dark Glasgow, or just outside Glasgow. It's getting quite late now. So it's our sun's completely gone. I don't know if I actually came out today. So I'm a health kinesiologist, a hypnotherapist, and a transformational coach, and I love working with people going through transition points.
Awesome. Great to have you here. Chella.
Good morning, Chella, coming to you from Orange County, California, and 4 miles away from Disneyland. And I am a pricing sage, empowering coaches to raise their price and attract their ideal clients. And I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, I love that, especially today's topic when we're talking about pricing. So how about Christy? You're on mute, Christy.
I know.
Okay.
There we go. Hi there, I'm Christy Sullivan, and I'm a guest of Camille's. I'm in the Natural Life Business Partnership, and I am from Connecticut. That's 2 hours outside of New York City. It's nice and sunny today, and I'm a human design and self-care expert, author, and speaker. So if you don't know what human design is, it is your energetic blueprint based on your birth date. So I help people understand the chart or the blueprint that they have and how to apply that into your life to stop being the square peg trying to fit into a round hole. That's my thing. And I just want to mention I have my new book that just came out, Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, 25 Ways to Transform Your Life Using Human Design. And I look forward to meeting people. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here, Christy. Thank you. And hey, Alan, it was love having you here. What time is it where you are?
Just 5:10 in the morning. So it's Wednesday morning here. So everybody, welcome to the future. I'm a profiling and communication specialist, and that means that I help people to read each other and understand each other more effectively to build stronger relationships and communications. I'm also the creator and host of the We Together initiative, the hashtag We Together, and the Campfire Project, where men and women can come together and share their stories, where we've had no racism, sexism, or bigotry in over 400 hours of conversations. And it's a safe place to have respectful conversations. Thank you.
Nice. We so enjoyed your presentation last week. Looking forward for that little consult. I haven't got there yet, Alan, but I am planning on it.
I look forward to it.
And how about Rhonda? Nice to have you.
Hi, nice to be here. Yeah, I just had that barking dog thing and it's still going on. So if you hear it, you'll know what's up. And it's just a squirrel. It sounded so dreadful. I thought it was a delivery person, but no, just a squirrel. So I'm Rhonda Payne, girl with a pen. Clearly that means I'm a writer. I specialize in long form content. So that means things like blogs and case studies, newsletters, and bark. And I am in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. So about an hour east of Vancouver.
Wow. Great. Nice to have you here. Hey, and Chris, nice to see you.
Wow, I'm in Ottawa, so sounds boring. So Chris, I'm with To Be in Flow Neurofeedback Services, which is a brain training, technology-based brain training program, and I work primarily with families who have a child with autism or ADHD, any of the spectrums to help bring down tantrums and bring more calm and harmony to families. And I also work with a lot of people who deal with symptoms related to anxiety.
Thanks, Chris. Great to have you here. And Tanya.
So I normally introduce myself as coming from the unceded territories of the Algonquin Anishinaabe peoples, which otherwise is known as Ottawa, Ontario. And I have a company called Beyond Safety Compliance, trying to get people to realize that just because you've met some kind of bar with the law or the regulation or the procedure or whatever, that's okay, but it's not enough. In order to get a healthy business, to be ethical and to have a very strong understanding of who you are, you have to shoot higher. So Beyond Safety Compliance, how does your work look?
Thanks, Tanya. That's great. Nice to have you here. Sabrina, nice to have you back.
Hi everyone. I'm Margaret. I'm Sabrina. I come from Taiwan, and I'm a specialist in fashion accessory product development. And we work with the designer brand in UK and France to help them from the fabric sourcing, product development, and manufacturing. So if you are looking for made in China or made in Asia supply chain, I'll be your solution. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Great to have you back. Eric.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you for waiting for me because you allowed me to have lunch. Thanks. I'm an accountant in private practice in Ottawa. I just finished a yoga, Tuesday's yoga. So I just finished a yoga session upstairs. So I am pretty peppy to go. We do a gamut stuff here that accountants do. Listen to clients sometimes, don't listen to clients some other times. Year ends, taxes, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, now you're making me smile, Eric. Thank you. We don't have a boring accountant here.
No.
And how about Brenda? Nice to have you.
Hi, my name is Brenda Williams. I'm the Executive Director for New Life Project Incorporation. It's a nonprofit organization here in Ottawa, and we do have a social enterprise within. We work with a lot of women and youth and inspiring them, just encouraging them to actually go for their skills, their goals, their desires. And we do a lot of forum, women's forum, where we invite professionals to come in and help with important topics that relate to women, like financing, health, and stuff like that. Yeah, and presently we launched two projects. One is a sewing project to give women extra skills and youth, and the other one is that we are pushing the French tutoring, which is why I'm a little late because I had class up to 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we do.
And Brenda, okay, I'll just put you on the spot for a second. I did see you post in the network, and I asked a question. So I'm going to encourage you to go back because I need the answer to the question to do something.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Brenda. Great to have you here today. And Stefan.
Yeah, my name is Stefan John. I'm from Ottawa. I'm the co-founder of a Unified Remote Workplace, which is technically a virtual office. So if entrepreneurs, small business, and corporation needs to have a remote work solution, I'm here to help them to deploy their application online. And I'm also a Lenovo business partner, both for servers, but also for computers, and of course, remote working solutions. And I'm offering Lenovo financial services over 12 months to 60 months. So if you guys need some new devices, I'm here to help you to finance and lease your solution if needed. And it's going to be soon Christmas, just saying.
Yes, thanks for the reminder. And Thanksgiving in the States, and whole holidays coming up. And what about Bernie?
Well, folks, my name is Bernie Fransgrote. My other hat is Creative Insight Consultants. I do B2B connections. Basically, if you have that square peg and round hole, I usually ask, how deep do you want it in? Not that it doesn't fit, but that's not an accounting answer ever, from what I understand. By the way, Eric helps you if you're dealing with CRA. So that's the Canada Revenue Agency, revenuers. I've just posted again a little other, again, my profile. Profile Canada is another element. One other thing to do is a quick tip reminder is when you have the chat open, the three dots in the bottom right-hand corner, hit save chat before you peel out of here, because if you don't, it'll go away. And if you run out of or miss that chat, get a hold of one of us. We're more than glad to give you a copy. Margaret Ann, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Bernie. Okay, in the chat also, I'm going to promote an event that Stefan and I are hosting tomorrow. It's called Your Customized Virtual Office Experience, and that's November 10th from 2 to 3 Eastern Standard Time online. So it's just a Zoom link. So if you'd like to come, follow that link and join us tomorrow. Another opportunity to engage and learn a little bit more about remote working. And on that note, I'm not going to share anything else today. I'm going to put my LinkedIn profile in just in case anybody wants to connect with me. I would love the opportunity to connect with you. And I'm going to pass it over to Bernie because I can't wait to hear from Camille. So who's going to be talking about pricing for profit. Bernie.
Oh, thank you, Margaret Ann. So, folks, allow me to introduce the wonderful, vivacious, exciting Camille Miller. She's an intuitive, alternative business engineer. She finds people the success, helping people shift their business from owner to entrepreneur and finding courage to align with their own values. And she's done that through her 6-figure soul strategy sessions. So that's one of the pieces that she has in play. She's founder and chief visionary of the Natural Life Business Partnership. And they have an alternative approach to business and they want to help repair the world. All right. And so other things to let you know about Camille. She's been in the natural health and organic food advocate, and she's been working helping people eat the right things, do the right things. She's 30 years of senior leadership with extensive experience in operations, sales, marketing, and brand management efforts for both for-profit and non-for-profit orgs. She also helped create the global network, which is the Natural Life one. And she's highly motivated leader with excellent comm skills and extraordinary ability to be working with other people, influence them, and motivate them. That's important. That's almost like a gym membership moment right there. She has a small business development center. She's a counselor there. She has an MBA in marketing from William Patterson University and a BA in psych from State University of New York. And she's also has a dissertation for her PhD in natural health sciences. She's a certified business success coach, master sales trainer, Psych K facilitator, national speaker, and top-rated instructor. Camille, over to you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Bernie. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. So we're talking about pricing for profit. I kind of talk to the crowd, so we're just going to wing it. Not in a bad way, but if you have questions or concerns or things that come up while I'm talking, you can either, raise your hand, ask a question, put it in the chat. I'll watch that as I go. Let's get started. So, do any of you ever feel that you're not charging enough? Or if you doubled your prices or at least just increased your prices by a little percentage that you might lose your actual clients? Anybody ever? Yeah, that's very, very, very common. And it usually comes around the self-worth issue. And it's a very, very scary step. I remember doubling my membership prices for the first time and just like holding my breath because it was really validating am I worthy? Am I enough? Right. And I've done it at least 5 times since that first time, but I always hold my breath until the first person bought a membership at that new price. And, in my mind, I'm always like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And then I'm like, phew, I'm worthy. Someone bought it. So I see a lot of practice owners, or if you're in membership companies or whatever you do, therapists, doctors, anyone selling sessions, what should I price my one session for? And that's mainly what we're going to talk about, but we can use the same, theory around any type of pricing that you might do. But usually I find that consultants or selling like hours of their time or blocks of their time. And it's starting off with whatever they came out of the corporate world doing, because my specialty is really people coming out of the corporate world and trying to become an entrepreneur later in life and just trying to dovetail what they know with who they are, if that makes sense. And saying, okay, now that I'm this new person, this is my identity, what do I actually charge? And if they're coming out making, $40, $50 an hour, whatever it was for them, they're charging that for their 1 hour of time when they're with a client. And they're probably not making a profit. So that comes out down the line. They're like, oh my gosh, I went all the way through this year and I'm not even making ends meet. And why is that happening? And it's usually because you're coming out with that corporate mindset of thinking, well, I'm worth about $40 an hour when I do this, this job in the corporate world. So when I'm now an entrepreneur for that single hour, I'm going to do the same, I'm going to price the same thing. But what we don't think is that maybe you did a discovery call with that client ahead of time, or maybe you took a new certification or expanded your knowledge somehow to get that client, or you've practiced for years to get the experience and know-how and knowledge to get that client or to be in the position you're at, as well as any research you put into your programs, or for that one client hour isn't actually 1 hour of your time. Does that make sense? Has anyone ever done that? They're like, this is what I'm really worth, but you didn't consider all of that other stuff you did. So it's really not that 1 hour of time when you're working with that client. It took you way more to produce, just to hold space for just them, to block out your calendar. And maybe afterwards you had a follow-up email, or you have a database with all of their notes. I know I pay for that. You also have to factor in your skills, your insurance, the cost of running your office. And even if you're not at the office, if you're sitting in your home, your heating, your air, your electric, your website, the parts to host it, any admin help. There are so many costs to doing your business that hourly charge is way different. And that's the part I want to talk about. So a time that took you to produce that 1 hour is way more expensive than you think. Has anyone actually gotten into that little problem? Like all of a sudden they thought they were doing really well. They're booking clients, but at the end of the day, they went to pay all of their bills and they're like, whoops, I didn't actually cover, did I? And not kind of figuring out where I went wrong. And then you're playing in your minds with, okay, so what is my charge really? So one way of doing it is actually putting down, if you say, I want to be paid $50 an hour, whatever it is for you, and actually figuring out what that hour is actually costing you, right? Even if it's briefly, knowing your fixed costs, kind of knowing what it costs to run your office or how much you need to make in a week. You can back into that number so you actually know what that is costing you. Does that make sense? Right? So it's not, like I said before, it's not that $50 an hour, it's a lot more. So I work with lots of coaches that are sitting there and saying, okay, but they also, coaches, this happens with doctors all the time because I work with doctors a lot. And they're like, well, they don't want to make an appointment, but they want to ask me a question or they want me to prescribe something. And, I just do it. I was like, well, do you charge for that? Do you charge? This is before, I think a lot of things change now that we have video and they can do televisits, but this is like before visits. I used to have this call like, well, if you're sitting there at the end of the day and you're answering all of your clients back, or if you allowed an email to come through, and that's a whole boundaries issue. But if you have allowed emails to come through back and forth and you're answering people's questions and not charging them, that's a time that you have to pick up that time somewhere. Where are you billing that time? Right? That time has to go somewhere. And in this case, I've had a doctor that was telling me she was spending hours at the end of her day answering clients' questions or prescribing things, but they wouldn't make the appointment. And she didn't make any money until they came into the office. Right. So I was like, so how about you start charging for your time? Or they have to go through your front desk before they get to you. Right. And put boundaries around yourself so you're not spread thin all over the place. So let's put a price on that. What does that hour cost you? Maybe it's $50 a question or $25 a sentence. I don't know if that's it for you, but I'm just saying you have to kind of think about what that is. For coaches that have these coaching packages, and I know I've come up against this myself, of how much access do they have to me and what is that really worth, right? If I'm on email with them, I put mine on Slack or, a different app that they have access to me, or they have my phone number and they can text me at any time of the day or night and they're expecting an answer back. That is very valuable time. That's your personal time, right? So that time should actually be priced a little bit higher. It shouldn't be that 1 hour session throughout, once a week or whatever that looks like for you. All right. That should almost be more money because they're taking your personal time. Or if you're reading through their ads or whatever you're doing for them, if they have access to you, that's all chargeable and should be a part of that package. I worked with another guy that had a pain in the ass. Sorry. A difficult client. His name was Rick, but we won't say his last name. And we call it the Rick tax, right? And I was like, because he really didn't like this client. So I was like, so put a 10% charge on it. He's going to take more of your time, right? It's going to give you some agita, right? So just put on the Rick tax. We called it the Rick tax. And there was an upcharge for this particular client because they demanded so much of their time and so much of their thought process, and they had to worry. And then, there was insurance issues involved, but that's all part of your pricing. So I always say a lot of times when I'm working with people in pricing, I always say, like, what is your price? You should probably double it, not knowing what their price is, because we'll talk about it more after that. But whatever your price is, it's probably too little, and let's double it and see if you get someone. Now, there are people out there that I think are charging way too much money for what they actually do. And I think in this last year, it's gotten a little crazy. So I think there's a container of what is reasonable, that you get the clients that you want to work with, right? And you get rid of the clients you don't work with. I will tell you from experience, and you've probably all experienced this as well, is when someone doesn't pay a lot of money, they take up twice amount of effort. Right? I always find that my higher paying clients actually produce more with less grief on me, right? Because they hold themselves accountable to a higher bar of excellence, I feel, right? When people pay. So I think there is that line of not enough, and then you're getting so much more agita with it. And when they're paying a little bit more, they're actually making themselves accountable. They're actually showing up. They're actually doing a little bit more. All right. Any questions about that so far? Everyone good? Okay.
Camille, would it make sense if you're trying to determine to cover your expenses, map out your budget, especially if you've been in business for a while, just like what's it cost, right? And then for those clients that would be what they call PIAs, paying in the do a PIA tax and just just do a sliding scale.
I like that. Yes. Yeah. So you should know there's two types of costs, right? Fixed and variable. And you should know what your fixed costs are, just what and it's not really your break even, but that's kind of your break even, right? Your fixed costs, you're paying out no matter how many clients you have every single day, right? It's your electric, it's your, all of your utilities. It may, trying to think what else, insurance. I have a CRM, my software charges, if you have bank charges, there's also a variable and a bank charges. So things that you pay every single month, even if you have 0 clients, those are your fixed charges, right? And you should know exactly what your fixed charges are. Even if you just write them on a notepad. I actually keep mine pinned right next to my computer. So I'm reminded every single day of what I need to bring in, right? And then your variable, and if you have, employees, admin, payroll, whatever that, also, those are your fixed, right? You're paying salaries, and there is nothing scarier than when you start to add people onto your payroll, knowing that you're responsible for them too. That was a hard move for me as I grew my business. Like, oh my gosh, this hurts. Seeing that number, because that's a fixed number. You are responsible for that number too. That is a big one. And then your variable charges are things that move. So for me, it's like merchant services. It's a percentage of the credit card stuff I bring in, right? My bank charges are a percentage. I don't know what else. Insurance is fixed. There's some other things. But figure out what that is and what your number is every single month, and then break it down into weeks. And I want to add, paying yourself is a fixed cost. You should be paying yourself every single, at least a month. I like twice a month. But you should be paying yourself at least every single month, because when you know what your bank account is and you know what money is flowing back and forth, you will make a point to make more money. I don't care if you pay yourself $200 to start a month or $500. It doesn't have to be a living wage when you're starting, but you absolutely have to cut your check first before any of your other checks. Does that make sense? When you pay yourself first, it makes a difference, and you'll see yourself actually make more money. So when you're figuring out, I know this is all about pricing for profit, but when you are figuring out your price, you're doing your fixed cost, your variable cost, and your actual time. So when I start any business, and I've started a few, I always keep a notebook right next to my desk, a little small notebook, and I write down all of the hours I work. And you could get creative and actually write down the hours of what you're doing. Is it writing? Is it social media? I don't do it now, but I do it when I start businesses, because I'm curious at the end of the year how much money I made per hour. Because there's so much you're putting into your business that you're not calculating. But when you start to calculate it, you also start to see where you're wasting time, right? Or what's not paying off, which is a whole nother class, right? What you're doing and is not paying off. So when you're figuring out your pricing, all of that is very important. It's the time that you're taking to do everything else in your business. And after a week or two, you actually realize how much you're working. When I work with people to set up their what I'm calling their 6-figure soul strategy, we do, I always ask, what's your ultimate dream? What does it look like? How many days a week do you want to work? And I find out most people are productive about 5 hours a day. So that's where I start. 5 hours a day. 5 hours a day, minimum wage for an entrepreneur is 10 grand a month. Let's figure out how to do that for you. And that's what we figured out. It doesn't mean that everyone does it within a few months, but that's the ultimate strategy. I worked with a therapist that has 4 kids and only wanted to work 2 days a week. So her strategy was a little different. By the way, she hit her goals, right? But that takes dedication, and it takes a very focused plan. So when you're pricing, she's probably not charging $40 an hour with her therapists, right? And one of the things we had to do, using her as an example, is raise her prices, really hone in on who her ideal client is that didn't question her prices. And then after she filled her slots, we created a waiting list, which made her more valuable. And then as people went out, we grandfathered everyone. As people went out, we increased her prices, because now she had a waiting list of clients ready to come in. And every year you have more experience, you are more worthy of more money per hour than you were the year before. Does that make sense? So give yourself a raise. Just like if you're in the corporate world. So give yourself a raise. So I feel that, so my background is really all in, well, not only strategic management, but mindset. And a lot of running a business is all about mindset. It's all about your attitude. It's all about your mindset. It's all about how you feel about yourself internally. But setting your prices is actually a reflection of how you feel about yourself and how you feel about money. Right? So when you feel valuable and worthy and, oh my gosh, I have so much knowledge, these people are so lucky that they get me, then you're charging right. But if you're feeling that when you give a bill to someone or an invoice that you're afraid to hand it to them, or you feel a little skittish, or you feel unworthy of their money, that's creating a whole different vibration towards that, right? That's when you're coming from a place of not being worthy enough. And it's really hard to attract clients when you're sitting in that vibration, right? Because your mindset's not there. But when you feel very worthy and you're able to say, hey, this is what I cost. Love to have you as a client. If not, that's okay. That works out for me too. And not being attached to that outcome, that's when you're going to pull in that type of money and those kind of clients. So I made a little list of 4 money lies people tell themselves. I actually just did this really fast before I jumped on, but let's talk about them, because I think when you're lying to yourself about money, that's where it comes out. So the first one is you give away your financial power. You think someone else is going to watch your bills, even if it's your accountant, right? Some people do it to a spouse or there's someone, their parents, not feeling that they're smart enough to take care of their own money. That's a common practice with people that under earn, very common practice, or they underestimate their worth. That's number 2, which we talked about before. You underestimate your worth. You give away your time, your skills, your knowledge. You barter with people instead of charging your full worth. And that's really what you don't believe you're worth a lot. So you barter with people. Does that make sense? A lot of people start out that way. It's okay to ask for help. That's okay. But when you start to barter, sometimes it doesn't always work. Or you give away your time. I do think everyone needs to give away some time. So there's a fine line there, right? I give away a lot of time. I'm giving away my time today to help, right? That's part of what you do. That's part of how you get out there. But it's different if you're afraid to charge somebody. Do you see the difference in how that feels? One is just giving, because I believe you grow when you give. But when you give because you're afraid to ask to be paid, that's a whole different vibration. Do you understand the difference? You'll feel the difference. You'll know the difference, right? When you feel worthy, you just give because you know it's going to come back. When you don't feel worthy, you're a little more afraid and you give so much of yourself that someone should be paying. Does that make sense to you?
So confidence.
Yeah, it's a different type of vibration inside. All right, so sorry, go ahead.
No, I had a question for you.
Okay.
So should I shoot my question? I was thinking about having the following approach when you're talking about tariffs and pricing, is to go within your presentation, you establish the value of what you're doing, and then after you reach out to people like me in the industry, charge that amount of money. So you establish a trust bound with the potential prospect or customer where he values the industry where you're in. So if you are, having a minimum pricing range, at least you can price what the industry is pricing. So after, it's very hard for the prospect to barter or argue about your tariffs. So I was wondering if that would be one of the method to apply.
Sure. So you're talking about the value though, right?
Well,
the value of your service.
There is our pricing, which should be, I do think about how much do we need to go on and pay invoices and have a little percentage of gross margin on it. But that price should to reflect the market price, because sometimes people are not valuing what we're doing as much as they are not valuing whatever our peers or alternatives are doing. But
Yes.
if we establish a rule of thumb that we should keep going, speaking to each other, with each other, because we are intending to do some business, and the business have some rules. And those rules is that I am not overcharging because I am at the market's price. It's very much like a house. You are not going to sell your house for $10,000 if it's worth 400,000, right? So that would be ridiculous. That would be probably the right approach. I'm guessing I'm trying to test that on customers by establishing a trustworthy bound regarding the market value. It's easier to say I'm doing this, and if you want extras and option, the onion rings are on the sides and are extras.
Exactly. But remember, in every single scenario, you are the differentiator.
Yeah.
So even if 5 people are charging exactly the same thing, if you're the differentiator, you're better, you have a wait list, you can charge more, right? Your value is higher. And that's okay, because every single one of us, we are our own differentiator.
Yeah, because now it's no longer about the price, it's about
your knowledge, your expertise, right?
Being available or not.
Right, and your performance.
And the performance as well.
Yeah, obviously by that time you have raving fans. Alan?
Yeah, when you set your price to the marketplace, everybody else has done exactly the same thing. So nobody is actually charging what they should be charging. So what you said there in finding where you are different to the market and setting your price to that, it's like houses. People buy a house and somebody pays more for the house, and therefore the value of all the houses go up.
That does happen. I mean, it could happen in real estate, but I will tell you very quickly, because I see this in coaching. Everyone starts raising their prices, but very quickly people realize who the real deal is.
That's right.
So that's not going to happen too often. You know what? Because if someone overprices, that's going to get out. You know what? If they're not worthy, right? Yeah. I don't do any advertising for my private work ever. It's all word of mouth.
Yeah, so, that's absolutely true. So as you're doing the, as I said, if you charge what everybody else is charging and everybody's done the same thing, the prices are down. When you put your value in and you're putting it up, others will then also look at that as well. Those that have got the value will come up to yours, which then gives you also knowledge that maybe you should be charging more again.
Yeah, I would raise my price in that scenario. All right, let me just finish out these other money lies. The third one was paying attention, and that's to your bank account. Look at your bank account every single day, open it up, just take it in. Know exactly what's in there, because that's a small action that you can take just to take responsibility. So many people don't actually look at it until they're ready to pay their bills, and then they just, cross their fingers and hope everything clears. And that's just part of, being very responsible about your money, right? Don't tell yourself that you're not good with money, or whatever else those lies are in there that you're talking about. Just take the responsibility, look at your bank account, know what you have to do, because when you look at it every single day, I know that there's a balance I always want to keep in there. And if I ever go below it, I do kind of panic. But I'm just like, okay, what do I have to do to get that back up again? Because I have a minimum in my head that I want to be there all the time as a safety net. And that's just it, right? And it keeps me very focused on what's coming in and what's going out. And don't be vague about your success, your money, your experience when you're pricing. Like, be proud of what you have, be proud of your clients that you've helped, and recognize in yourself if you're doing an extraordinary job. And the fourth one is, I'm not blank enough. If I'm not smart enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not knowledgeable enough, I'm not worthy. All of those excuses come from a place of fear and not a place of fact. I hear a lot around education. Like, I don't have a college degree. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a PhD. I don't have this. I don't have that. So what? Right? So what? A lot of people don't. You don't have to compare yourself with things on that level. Really, all you need to compare is results. If you're getting people results, you should be pricing accordingly. Does that make sense? Your price should reflect who you are, who you want to attract, because your client is really important. I had a whole thing on attracting the right client. So when you can pick and choose who your clients are, that comes from a place of like empowerment, right? That's when you know that this is my price. When you're ready, you can pay it. And sometimes people leave and then they come back. I see that. I love when that happens, actually. They say no, they have a bad experience, they come back. Because that's how you're showing your worth, right? I want to leave some time for questions. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts? Was this helpful? Yeah.
I personally really liked it because I found it, it was perfect timing. A lot of the things, like, I've heard before, but it's always good to brush over, especially for some people. And I'm like on the call coming out of the pandemic, we've done a lot of pivoting in our business. We may not be feeling that worthy and judging and thinking and overthinking. So thank you, Camille. I really enjoyed your presentation. I found it perfect timing. It's all about our belief systems, isn't it?
It's all divine, right? You're not here by accident. So everything happens in divine timing. Bobby, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I think you hit the key at the very end where you talked about payment for results. And I'll tell you the difficulty I have with consultants. They can spread a beautiful word. They can promise many great things. They charge you by the hour, but then you don't see the results. So my big thing is this. I'm willing to pay a consultant, not a problem. And really, I don't mind what it is, as long as I see results. So I'd rather pay, see, when I sell a box of coffee, that's when I get paid. I don't get paid for having the coffee sitting on the shelf. I get paid when somebody picks it up and buys it. So for me to pay a consultant would be only after I see results. If what you're saying is wonderful and it works out, then I'm glad to go back and say, you know something, thank you very much. I see the results of what you've done. I'm willing to pay you whatever it is per hour. So that's my thing with consultants, because a lawyer you pay right off the bat. You talk to a lawyer and all he charges you is $400 an hour or whatever it might be. You have no idea if you're going to be successful, right? And that's the same feeling I have with consultants. So not to put you down at all, I think your value could be there, but I want to see it in results before I make the payment.
Right. So when you're hiring someone, don't you ask for their testimonials, their past projects? I mean, seeing results, even from your attorney, knowing that they've had successes is big, right? Their testimonials, their past results are just as important for every single one of you. Your past result, like you want to be able to say, here, talk to these 10 people. I'll let you know.
I've hired salespeople, which they have impeccable, experience.
Yep.
And yet 3 months in, they've done very little, right? So you're paying. So I technically, yes, when you think of it, they've got a good pedigree. You think they're going to go and conquer the world. But in the real life, that's not how it happens.
Yeah. Well, it actually depends on the salesperson too. So when I used to be in sales, you probably couldn't get me to work for a salary, right? I'd rather work on results because I know I'll make way more money. I loved working on commission because I was paid what I was worth every single day. So it kind of depends on the person, right? But I do have the same problem with hiring people that didn't fit in or understand my product or, giving them what they needed to be successful. So there's a whole lot in there too.
Yes, if we bring this back to pricing, most of us made the big mistakes when we were starting out.
I'm still making them.
And we had to depend on the spouse's bank, which if it wasn't for my wife, it would have been very difficult for me to run the accounting practice in the 5 years. And the clients I got then were the ones that caused the most problems in the long run because we underpriced ourselves.
Always. That's always, you have to figure out what the threshold is for you that you're actually getting that quality client. That's a big one. When you undercharge your basic market, you're going to get all the people that no one else wanted.
That's right.
You know,
Yes.
I was involved in a podcast, and one of the things when you're putting together a project or a work is to have a team around you. So like, you know, it's also, it can be cheerleader type, or it can be the sage, you know, the little baby Yoda coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But having that as part of your team. So having an accountant as part of your team, your lawyer is part of your team, maybe expensive part of the team, but you know, you use him or her sparingly, depending on the nature of the beast. You know, you could have someone who's a copywriter for you, depending if you're doing a lot of writing, right? So a lot of these expertise, and if you're actually hiring people, then you talk to, let's say, someone like Tanya, you know, and she helps shape that community, but that all forms your cost, but it also provides you a place to go, listen, I'm going to do this. What do you think? Right. So you're just not doing it because doing it just isolated, then, you know, any doubt gets in there, it just wreaks havoc. Right.
Yeah.
Whether you're buying someone as a doing a gig economy service where they're just coming in for a short bit and hopefully they know what they're doing, and, you know, or your website, you know, oh God, it just unfolds.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at the point just in my own business now, I'm putting together an advisory board because I feel like I still have a vision, but I don't know if I can grow it myself as big as I want to grow it. So I was like, you know what, let me bring in people to help, and I can help them with other things, and just to ask questions and be a little clearer, you know. And many big businesses do actually have advisory boards. You know, I had one when I created my first stream. Before I launched it, I put together an advisory board just to say, hey, does this make sense to you guys?
Even small businesses has advisory boards. Even
Yes.
small businesses.
Small businesses have, you can have accountability partners. There's lots of things you can have, but you need someone to talk to. All of us do. And I don't care what level you're at. It's called like new level, new devil, right? You constantly go up against the same things I do.
Yes.
And they creep in and I'm like, where did this come from? Right? I mean, it happens all the time. I have restless nights, just like you all have restless nights. Like, and you're kind of wondering.
Absolutely. And
Camille, can I
that?
ask one more question, Morgan?
Okay.
Because something that I've heard on some pricing things that I haven't heard here, and I just want to hear your opinion on it, Camille. On a podcast, I had heard about one guy's sister who made intricate, I don't know, drawings that people color in, that kids color in, but they're really fancy. And she puts a lot of effort into this. And she was going through what you did, you know, how much time does it take me to do this kind of thing? He said, what are you doing? That's not the value that the parents of these kids are getting from your product. Like you have to change your pricing from your time to the value that people are actually getting from what you are selling. Because your drawings, when you give them as birthday party presents and things, are occupying groups of children for hours. Do you know what parents would pay for that? So, you know, start looking at it from that perspective instead of looking at your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Well, that's also expertise and value, right? That's also part of pricing, right? So she could make one of those and then copy it 50 times and sell it on a mass market, you know? And I know I have a daughter, all three of mine are in college and they're all creatives. So one's an artist though. And when she was selling her work, teaching her to keep her hours and what the paint costs and what the canvas costs. But in the beginning, her paintings probably couldn't cover what it actually was costing her in time and value. Right now they can. She sold some pretty expensive pieces, but that's a piece of it, right? Yeah. Anna? I know we're running out of time. Anna?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say that another form of pricing within consultancy work, because in my world anyway, the work can be very different and take different time periods in anything from management training to strategic planning to implementation. So what I normally do is price it as a project when all details are known. prices as a project plus 10% for the unknown. So it's a bit like the construction industry.
Yeah, and there's change orders, right? How to scope work. That's all part of it in different industries, and an important part of it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, you know what, Camille, that was great. I'm sure that this conversation could go on for a while. It's one of, I think it's one of the topics is always a hot topic with entrepreneurs where there is a lot of fear. Is this right? Is this not? We judge. And it's so much when you're saying about advisors, bringing people together. That's what even Stefan and I, like, team, like, bring your team in, have these open discussions, be a little vulnerable, be open to sharing so you can get to, that point. Plus also actually just validating yourself, because sometimes that's all it needs too, is having people in there to go, no, that's right. And just do that. So really, really appreciate it. Do you want to give us okay, we've got, I'm going to give you 1 minute. What's the top 3 takeaways you'd like people to take away today?
Oh gosh. Oh, from me?
Yeah.
Takeaways. I don't know. Price what you're worth. If you have self-doubt, look in the mirror and tell yourself you're great. Let me see. What's the third one?
That is good.
I didn't
you know
know
what? That's all right. I'm
Yeah.
not enough. Excuses from fear. Maybe everybody should make some mantras of positive thinking.
Yeah.
I loved you, Camille. It was great.
Thank you.
But I'm going to pass it over to Bernie. Bernie, do you mind sharing what's coming up again this week and next week?
Absolutely, Margaret Ann. So first off, the chat is the first thing that's coming up because you're going to hit those 3 dots and save the chat before you peel out of Dodge. The second part is, so Thursday we have November 11th at 12 Eastern Standard Time. We have a core VIP mastermind, and the promo code is 2021 Explorer, all uppercase letters for the word Explorer. Next week we have making sense of insurance and for business owners, and that's not the liability insurance. That's the you insurance, as in you got sick stuff. Amanda Dunklin's coming in from Landmark to talk and give a session there. And 5 minutes after the hour, you should see an email that says, "Hi," survey says. Feel free to enter in. Over to you, Margaret Ann.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Bernie, for that. Oh, yes. And I'm just going to do a little we are having that meeting tomorrow. It's called a virtual office. So if anybody would like to join, we'd love to have you to give you a walkthrough of what remote working in a virtual office can do for you. And that is from 2 to 3 Eastern Standard Time. And like we want to do, it's 1:50. We are actually couple of minutes early today. This is good because my computer will say 2 o'clock. So way to go, Camille. Thank you all for taking the time to come out. As we started off, don't forget to connect with somebody on this call because that is what networking is all about. And how cool was this? Because you can collect with somebody literally globally. We've got Taiwan and Edinburgh and Scotland and New Jersey, like Australia, like we are literally from around the world today. So thank you all for taking the time to come. And on that, we'll see you on the flip side.
Margaret Ann, great glasses.
Thank
Nice
you.
glasses.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Great to see you again.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Camille, thank you
Bye.
very much.